It's Monday. I just shit and puked at the same time. My kidneys hurt a lot, my GI hurts a lot, and my nervous system is really fucked up. I can't get my stomach settled enough to take my epilepsy medication Triliptal, so I'm kind of still fucked until I can settle my stomach. After 25 years of stomach issues and 25 years of seizures and shakes and tics and um, muscle spasms, um, I am tired of all of it, and I'm even more tired of going to the doctors and hearing my mom's lies and fantasies, preventing me from getting any medical treatment. Yes, when I go to the emergency room with a colon blockage or bleeding internally into my testicles or a GI pain that's swollen and's been there for more than a year and won't go away, when my kidneys hurting and my urine turning black, when I go to the hospital for those type of things, they give me no care whatsoever. They release me right away with no further testing. The insurance will not cover almost anything because they have it on good authority that these tests are unneeded because it's all just some fantasy my mother and father and his new wife says. So all these tests that I'm asking for, like an ultrasound or a CT scan, are unnecessary because my father and his new wife and my mother, before she killed herself with pills and alcohol, all said that these tests are unnecessary. So, of course, the insurance company is not going to pay for a test that my own father says is unnecessary and is just a fantasy. The doctors haven't spent enough time with me. They got about a year of information, and I only get to speak to them for about 15 minutes every 6 months. But then, of course, my mother and father, they have a car. They got money. They got lawyers to throw around. They got the lingo down. They know how to hack the robots on those call lines, thanks to Alice. So, with all this stuff going on, yes, they call it a fantasy. I get into trouble like a blockage. I go into the emergency room. They put me through hell. And then I have to go to Walgreens and treat myself with an enema at home because the emergency room isn't doing shit but giving me laxative pills and saying, well, you gotta wait a day or so. I came in here with an emergency, not constipation, you goddamn dumbasses. If it was just constipation or gastritis, I would be handling this at home. But I've had to enemize myself after screaming for a day, and now I'm not able to move off the bathroom floor on my side as I scream in pain and try to shove an enema up my ass so that way I can then not be in pain. And at that point I scream in pain, but then a little tiny nug comes out, then I scream in pain, and an hour later a little another nug comes out dry as fuck, then I scream in pain, and eventually sometimes the enema will work on the first treatment, but these blockages are terrible, are absolutely terrible. What's even worse is I don't get to choose my diet. Yes, thanks to my mother and father, I cannot work without getting injured. I cannot collect Social Security, and I cannot collect cash benefits. I applied 6 months ago to a year ago for all those things. But then they wanted my father's number, so I gave it to them, but gave them a warning that this would probably interfere with my ability to get services and to not listen to these crazy people. But then they call my father, and my father calls me the crazy person. He says he got all these records from childhood that my mother and father made up and paid doctors to write down. Yes, my mother would pay a doctor come up with a bunch of fantasies, and then tell him, you either write this down or we'll find another doctor. And she did find new doctors, and she would do the same thing until she got everything she wanted put down on paper. But me, I try to just get a basic enema or just some basic like a ultrasound or a CT scan of my kidney done, and I have to go through loops, make multiple trips, and hear my insurance deny it. Meanwhile, I hear my own father preventing me from getting health care. He might even be the cause of my death. If I had, let's say this blockage yesterday, the enema didn't work and I went to the emergency room. The emergency room, for one, is going to hear I already used an enema, so they're not going to want to use another one. Even if they do, if I already used one, it's probably not going to work because the blockage is too big. I've already taken laxatives and Marilax to the point where I can't take anymore because it would be dangerous. So I already take Marilax daily, and I have a special laxative that my GI said I could take. So if all that stuff is already taken, and I go to the emergency room with a blockage, but they refuse to give me any surgery or any treatments because they think I'm just screaming for fun. They think I enjoy the emergency room. They think I'm screaming, heart pounding, vomiting in a trash can because I think it's fun, my father says. He says I do it for fun like a fantasy. Yes, I'm doing this for fun. Bullshit. I'm doing it because my father drugged the shit out of me with my mother, and then my father decided it was a good idea to leave me on a pile of newspapers when needing an ambulance. Then, on top of this, after I come awake from that and my whole nervous system is destroyed, then my mother gives me extra Epicac as a punishment, including extra pills like Seroquel, Thorazine, Ritalin, Xanax, Zyprexa, all these pills that destroy the stomach lining of your stomach. They also, my mother's having me take these pills dry. I don't know there's anything wrong with that because I'm only 6, 7 years old.